So hello, and welcome to Daily Space for today, June 19th, 2019. Also, happy Juneteenth. So there are a lot, and I mean a lot of rocket launches this week. So let's get at it, shall we? So as a reminder, go ahead and ask me questions while I'm, covering this week's rocket news. Please at me so I can find them faster. And when I'm done telling you about all the launches that are supposed to happen this week, I'll scroll back up and I'll read your questions and we'll answer them together because I don't always have all the answers and you guys are amazing. So, are we ready? Are we ready? Cool! Let's get at this. So, first up is Arianespace has a launch with 2 communication satellites. One is for AT&T. It used to be for DirecTV, but AT&T bought DirecTV, so now it's for AT&T. And that will be for satellite TV, and then Eutelsat 7 Charlie, which is indeed communications. This launch is supposed to happen at June 20th, 21:43 UTC, and that is, I have to math. 21 minus 4 is 17? 17. So 5:43 Eastern Time, which is going to be 2:43 West Coast Time. And everybody else, that's why I gave you the UTC time first. So this is an Ariane 5 rocket that's going to be taking off. And I don't know too much about the rocket other than it's an Ariane 5, meaning that Arianespace created it and it's not a modified Soyuz. So let's talk about the payloads some more. So the first one, this is that, oh wow, I didn't realize how bad of an image this was. Okay, well I apologize for the quality of the image, but this is the AT&T satellite, the one that's going to provide satellite TV, and it is 6,350 kilograms. Americans, that is, now I have to math and that's hard. Anyways, that's over 3,000 2-liter bottles of soda. Let's just go with over 3,000 2-liter bottles of soda. It's supposed to be up there and operate for 15 years, and it will be in GAO. So already then. The next image is of Eutelsat 7 Charlie on the vibration platform. And it's also pretty big. I couldn't find an exact mass. So let's just go with it's big. I know it's big. The dogs have opinions on the size of this satellite. So this satellite is 7 Charlie, right? So that means there's a 7 Bravo and a 7 Alpha. So Eutelsat 7 Charlie is going to be co-positioned with Eutelsat 7 Bravo, which will then allow Eutelsat 7 Alpha to move to another position. And the idea for this satellite is to provide broadcast services to Africa, the Middle East, and Turkey. So pretty neat. And in case you can't, and it's hard to see, but at the very top of this, kind of in the background, so it's not an exact, thing for scale, but there's a man on a ladder just watching down from below. So perspective is a little off, but that gives you an idea of how just big this satellite is. And as my last image for you all for this launch, here is both of the payloads squished together, being encapsulated into the payload fairing of the Ariane 5 rocket. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And now they're pretty much just ready and waiting to launch. And yeah, so that's the Arianespace launch. Next up, the very next day, June 21st at 1344 minutes UTC, which is 13 minus 4 is, I can't math, 9, right? Yeah, 9. So that'll be 9:44 a.m. East Coast and 6:44 a.m. West Coast. Yeah, I know, this is kind of an early launch. But Roscosmos is going to launch Specter, which is a space telescope, an X-ray space telescope on a Proton M rocket. And Specter, for those of you that aren't aware, is a joint Russian-German project, and it is destined... I know you're not happy about the next words I'm going to say, but you can deal with it, okay? Anyways, the next words I was going to say were, it is destined for the Earth-Sun L2 Lagrange point area, which is generally where the James Webb Space Telescope is headed, eventually, if it ever takes off. So, but no worries, if they do both end up in that same point of space. Remember, space is big, really, really big, and they'll both fit with literally no issue, since they're actually going to be orbiting around the L2 point instead of being just stationary in that point. They may never get within 100 kilometers of each other. They're just going to be in that general portion of the sky. So, yeah, Spectre is going to conduct an all-sky X-ray survey, observing galaxies and large-scale galactic clusters to help astronomers examine the role of dark energy and dark matter in the evolution of the universe. The primary instrument on Spectre is the German-built Wide-Field Erosion X-ray telescope, which scientists say will observe more than 3 million active black holes at the center of galaxies and approximately 100,000 clusters of galaxies in the distant universe. There's a second X-ray telescope on Spectre, developed by a Russian science team, which is sensitive to higher energy X-rays than the Erosion. The Russian telescope named ART X-ray Charlie will fly with X-ray mirror modules fabricated at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center in Alabama. So that's pretty cool. This is a pretty international project, and the stated lifetime is supposed to be 6.5 years. So hopefully we get a lot of good data out of this. And yes, I have an image. Well, this is a model of what Spectre will look like. No, I don't know which telescope or which instrument is where on this model. But yeah, solar panels. And I have nothing for scale. I don't think I even have a mass for this. Let's just assume it's huge. Right. We'll, if Roscosmos decides to stream this launch, we'll stream this launch, and hopefully we can get, some more data on exactly how big this thing is, because I imagine it's big. Okay, so on the 22nd, the very next day, no kidding, this so far has been boom, 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 starting tomorrow. There is a Chinese launch. There's no time posted. There will be no live stream. And if you know of a live stream, if you find a live stream, tell me, because the live streams of Chinese launches are incredibly rare. I will have footage and things for you next week of what all went down with this launch, because there's just not really much available. So there's going to be 3 Earth observation satellites, one specifically for polar observation. The Bravo November Uniform -1, which is actually Beijing Normal University. I'm not joking. That is what it's called, Beijing Normal University. Dash 1 is the Polar Observation Small Satellite. It will be the first remote sensing small satellite for polar observation, probably for China. And there's 2 others going up there that I couldn't really find a whole lot of info for, so sorry, but they're all supposed to be, I think, on the small side. I don't even remember what kind of rocket they're being launched on. So the next Chinese launch is, and we need to talk about this for a second, is the 23rd. Again, no time, no live stream. If you know of a live stream, again, please tell me. So China Rocket. So China Rocket is a commercial company that split off of a state-owned business, or a state-run company that branched off of Chinese Space National Agency. Just think about that. I have more information on it on the next slide. But yeah, this is a spin-off of a spin-off, literally. And yeah, the company is called China Rocket, and that is exactly what the Chinese characters say under the logo, but above the thing is literally China Rocket. I looked it up. You're welcome. So what are they launching? They are launching the very first mission, or very first flight of a Smart Dragon. And it's going to have 2 Earth observation satellites. I couldn't find a whole lot of information about these Earth observation satellites. Arnstro and I were able to dig up more information about the company than anything else, and it was tricky just Googling the company and finding information. So, yeah, Smart Dragon. This will be the first mission, and on the screen there's one, it looks like a dash. It is indeed a Chinese character, and it's in red. That is the Chinese character for 1, and I've already forgotten how to pronounce it. I can't. Anyways, dragon is one of those symbols. The other symbol had multiple meanings, so I feel like they played, with the translation a little bit, but I like Smart Dragon, because the other symbol is something usually used like fast or rapid or quick, things of that nature, but not smart. So, but that's okay. I like the translation they came up with. But I just wanted to point out that the red dash is indeed the number 1. So, now we're going to talk about more about this company. And Arianespace wrote a pretty good summary for me, so I'm just going to read all of that. So, an interesting note for Western viewers: the company building this may be primarily civilian, but it was a direct spin-off from a state-owned company, which was a direct spin-off of the government space agency. So, you following? That's a spin-off of a spin-off. There is no firewall between China's various governmental and civilian efforts in certain areas, something that's really not appreciated by much of the rest of the casual viewing world. We often joke about the military-industrial complex. China lives this principle to the hilt. It is the norm for people who are general officers there to retire and take over CEO positions in ostensibly civilian companies there. This is not usually true in Western-style economies. So yeah, we thought that was interesting. Again, when next week, after they have all of these Chinese rockets up in the sky, I will have some photos for you. Okay, so, oh my. So we have a break on the 24th, kind of. It depends on where in the world you are. So, if you're here in the US, in negative UTC, we don't really have a break. The very next rocket launch is June 25th at 3:30 a.m. UTC. So that's really early in like Europe. But for those of us on the East Coast, that's kind of late. That's actually 11:30 on June 24th. See what I mean by we didn't really get a day off on the East Coast, and it will be 8:30 p.m. on the West Coast. And there's a 4-hour launch window, so they'll probably hold rather than scrub the first couple times. So we may be up for 4 hours waiting for this bird to take off. Anyways, it is Falcon Heavy, and will be the third Falcon Heavy launch, and I will explain why that's important in a second. And there will be a total of 4 upper stage burns, which would be the most ever by a SpaceX vehicle. And there is over 20 small spacecraft. One source I found said 25, a source that our instro found said 24, and they're going to go in probably 3 distinct orbits. So these include, and we're not going to talk about all of them, we are going to talk about some of them, but the payloads include 6 Cosmic 2s, which are at 227.8 kilograms each. That's over 110 2-liter bottles. Multiply that by 6. That's just under 700 2-liter bottles. And there's the ETB-EX, so that's Echo Tango Bravo Echo X-Ray. There's the PSAT. There's the TEPSI, that's Tango Echo Papa Charlie Echo. The Elana 15, Oculus ASR Nanosat, GPIM, that's Golf Papa India Mike, the Deep Space Atomic Clock, which is super important, and we'll probably talk about more of that on launch day, and Prox 1 and LightSail 2. So, it's a big payload. This is definitely a rideshare. So here's a very nice infographic created by G.D. Barrett, and it has, all of the information pretty much on it, where it's going to take off from, which will be Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Has a bit of the a bit more about the payloads. So those 6 Cosmic 2 nanosatellites is actually a partnership between NOAA, NASA, and Taiwan's NSPO. And there will be the first stage recovery. Core is going to land on Of Course I Still Love You, and the side boosters are going to land on LZ1 and LZ2. And I don't think there's anything else in this image that hasn't been covered. So the solar sail, this graphic mentions it, the Planetary Society's crowd-funded LightSail B CubeSat. And we'll get to that in a second. So this is the third of three flights necessary to certify Falcon Heavy for carrying valuable Air Force payloads. The main goal of this mission, rather than launching specific satellites, is to validate the Falcon Heavy system and a wide variety of its capabilities, including long coast, multiple engine restarts, direct MEO insertion, and staged passivization. Oh my goodness. In order to certify it to fly operational U.S. Air Force payloads to varied orbits. Therefore, the number and mass of these payloads are effectively a rideshare with this primary mission and of lesser importance. So they needed to prove to the Air Force that a lot of things could happen in order for for Falcon Heavy to launch sensitive and important, heavier payloads. So that's why they're using a whole lot of thrust for not a whole lot of weight. And there's some conversation about this in the SpaceX subreddit, talking about, hey, wow, this is overkill, but they're really testing the rocket. And while they're testing the rocket, they're going to be launching all of these other things. The STP was actually intended to be mostly for military payloads, but they want to make sure everything's working. So there's a lot of non-military payloads on this STP rideshare. So that's some information about that. Also, 2 of the side boosters have previously flown. The central core has not, because I know somebody's going to ask me about this. So this is the patch that Arinstro sent and pointed out to me. I think this was made by somebody in the Air Force or the DoD. And I say that because there is no 4-leaf clover, which is generally present in all SpaceX mission patches. So for those of you that can't see what I have up on the screen, it is a Falcon Heavy in the center, over top of the sun symbol of the Zia, or most people might know it as the New Mexico state emblem, superimposed with the atomic symbol, and there's a tiny bit of the Earth in that. There are 14 stars. Yes, I counted. I have no idea what the symbolism of that is supposed to be. And there's just the text, which says DoD Space Test Program, STP-2, Rocket Systems Launch Program. The inner ring of text says DSX, Formosat 7/Cosmic 2, GPIM, OTB, NPC Sat 1, Oculus ASR, Prox 1. So yeah, it is definitely screaming New Mexico to me too, Refsmat. And I don't know why the New Mexico emblem or the sun symbol of the Zia is there. Not a clue. No idea of what the symbolism is. And then this is literally the integrated payload stack with all of those teeny tiny satellites on there. And this is 3,700 kilometers. It is not kilometers. 3,700 kilograms. That is, I'm mathing in my head because I don't do this ahead of time. That's close to, let's just say, it's just under 2,000 2-liter bottles. Yeah, I think so. We're gonna go with that. It's just under 2,000 2-liter bottles. So yeah, that's the integrated payload stack. And now for the one mission that we're going to talk about, LightSail 2 and Prox 1. Prox 1 is going to be deploying LightSail 2 into Earth orbit. And why are we talking about this payload in specifically? Because there's going to be a telecon that I am going to do my best to stream for you guys. And Bill Nye is going to be on this telecon, by the way. I will have more info for you in the Discord server. Because I only tested the technology after I made these slides. So my apologies. But I will have more information for you in the Discord server about what time to tune in. So, yeah, at launch, LightSail 2 will be tucked inside of Prox 1, which is going to be a suitcase-sized spacecraft, which was designed by students at Georgia Tech. Prox 1 was originally designed to chase down and rendezvous with LightSail 2, but its mission is now focused solely on deploying the LightSail 2 into orbit. They will be dropped off at the second drop-off point, which is about an hour and 20 minutes after launch. Prox 1 is going to spend the first week circling Earth quietly, allowing time for the other spacecraft launched in the same orbit to drift away so each can be identified individually. Precisely 7 days after its release, the front door of Prox 1's CubeSat dispenser, called a, no joke, P-pod, will swing open and allow a large spring to nudge LightSail 2 out into space. So LightSail 2 is a crowd-funded solar sail. Literally all put together by the Planetary Society. And yeah, this is not an image of LightSail 2, but this is a LightSail 1 updated solar sail selfie. This was captured aboard LightSail 1 on June 8th, 2015, shortly after solar sail deployment. It was color corrected by Dan Slater to remove the camera's artificial purplish tint based on ground test images, and is a closer approximation to what the human eye would see. And if I recall correctly, the idea behind the light sail was to essentially test getting things up into orbit or moving things around. It's not very fast method of moving things around in space, but it is a method of moving things around in space. So there's that, and that's all I have for you for today's launch news. There we go. Thank you, Tom Van Scotter. From Planetary Society, Light Sail 2 will become the first spacecraft in Earth orbit to fly on sunlight alone, demonstrating that solar sailing is a viable method of propulsion for CubeSats. Thank you. Thank you. It's not very fast, but it is definitely possible to be a thing, and this is literally a test to see if, yes, this indeed can be a thing. Okay. And of course, you know, we can't go without talking about Bennu. So when I checked at noon Eastern, we were 35% of the way done with mapping Bennu. Yes, that's amazing. So we were also at that time 636 images away from being halfway done, which is great. Y'all are doing great. This is amazing. But we're also running out of time. We have less than a month to finish. Don't panic. We can still do this. Yes, the OSIRIS-REx team has identified a few potential collection sites, but what if the ideal site is hidden in a mound of images we still haven't gone through? So this is why we need you, yes you, all of you, to help us map Bennu. And I know I've been slacking on the Bennu support streams, and it sounds like I'm just going to have to ramp those up. So there will be one of those later today after I, take a break and all this other things. So with that, we are going to go back to, the chat, and I'm going to, hold on, I'm going to scroll up through your questions. Hold on, I am looking for something very important. There it is. I'm going to scroll up through your questions and give you a chance to ask questions. Please at me so I can find them. Oh, thank you for following Intrepid Red Fox. For those of you that are new, this is what happens when Streamlabs alerts pop up. So Puck, speak. Are you ready? And speak. Really? Normally I can't get them to shut up. Anyways, the dogs say thank you. And make it rain. So the fluffy dog you see on screen right now is Puck. And we'll toss more Cheerios. So Tinker, Puck, speak. Tinker, speak. I think they barked all of their barks at the things. So, yeah. So here's some more Cheerios for Kerbal's cheer. And make it rain. See, he at least reacts to that. So, you're brought here by Rhyolite. Well, thanks. Rhyolite is awesome. Okay. So the first question I see, because we were just talking about the SpaceX mission, I missed earlier, did you tell us anything about the long range, of course I still love you, from the launch site recovering the Falcon Heavy core? No, I did not. And we'll get to that in a second, because there's more Cheerios to throw at the dogs. Tinker's just off screen, and she's already watching intently. And make it rain! And I'm going to make it sprinkle for Tinker. Thank you, Trekker Kev. So, dog logic might be that early is good. Yes. Okay. So no, I did not mention anything about the long range, of course I still love you, from the launch site for recovering the Falcon Heavy core. I didn't catch that till this morning, and I mostly put my slides together the day before. But yes, for reasons that weren't entirely too clear to the SpaceX subreddit community, they have moved the platform way downrange than normal to capture the Falcon Heavy core, and it might just be because the payload is so light, or it's because they're doing some other I really don't know why they did it, I just know they did it. So, and Kerbal found the reason for why the thing was called Peapod. So it says Poly-Picosat Orbital Deployer. And as DPI said, some people should not be allowed to name things. Oh, that's right. I forgot Bill Nye was the president of the Planetary Society genre. So hello, Evol Intent. Oh, and we had another follow. Rowdy Rosie. Oh, I'm gonna have to put more Cheerios in the container. The Cheerio container's out. All right, so here's the Cheerios. And speak. Peck, speak. Tinker, speak? Okay, that counts. And make it rain. The dog said thank you. I say thank you. Alright, let me scroll all the way back up. And Larry Weird and Proud says Juneteenth, a day that will live in Texas infamy. And a day that is important for, you know, U.S. history, even though not a lot of people until relatively recently knew what the heck it was. Veronica Cure asks, do you think the data from Spectre will be shared with scientists from other countries? I think so. I hope so. I haven't really dabbled in gathering data from other countries. Sometimes it's because the everything's just in a different language. Sometimes it's because I want to stay within my comfort zone. Yeah. Q asks, so the Roscosmos satellites, meaning Spectre, will never see the sun at the L2 point. I have no idea. Not a clue. I really don't know. This is not something I know. And as DPI points out, the name of the telescope is actually Spektr-RG, which, yeah, I left off the RG because to me it's just easier to say Spectre. So sorry for confusing all of you over the name of the telescope. Larry Weird and Proud points out it is a radio telescope not meant for the sun. Open Cage pops in with normal was used for school names here too. Normal school is an institution to train high school graduates to be teachers by educating them in the norms of pedagogy and curriculum. Awesome. Good to know. Good to know. DPI says, of course I still love you landing. Best landing. And yeah, the light sail cube is another demo. And the atomic clock, the deep space atomic clock, is pretty awesome. Here's why the deep space atomic clock is awesome. It is, right now, for everything that we have up in space, we sync with atomic clocks that are here on the ground. And we couldn't really get something that was small enough and stable enough in orbit to sync up with all of the craft in orbit with the atomic clock. So everything was being synced with the stuff on the ground, which there's a delay, So now by having an atomic clock, a deep space atomic clock, it's actually closer to the spacecraft and there should be less delay. And, you know, having a backup for the backup for the backup isn't a bad thing. So Kerbal says, here's a vehicle of the pad. There was a test fire like an hour ago, I think. So yeah. Scroll all the way down. Eep, eep, eep. Oh, the anomaly inside the moon's largest crater. What do I think it could be? Oh, it hasn't happened yet. A few hours. Okay, if I can find a stream for that, we might stream that too. They discussed that Dr. Pamela actually brought in, because reminder, I am not an astronomer. Dr. Pamela actually brought in colleagues of hers from the Planetary Science Institute. I got that right, right? Yeah, she brought in colleagues from PSI to actually talk about what they thought it was or things of that nature. So check the video on demand for Monday, and you should be able to find it there. Yeah. So that's that. Polypicosat orbital deployer. Yep, that is what PPOD stood for. And wouldn't the open cage asks, wouldn't the clock be much more useful around the moon or other planet once there's a lot of activity? I mean, not this one, but such a device. I have no idea. I admittedly read very briefly about the atomic clock because I figured I could read up on that and talk more about all of the payloads on SpaceX in depth more when it got closer to the launch. Also, I really suspect there's going to be space commercials for the SpaceX launch, which may actually be able to explain things better than I can. SpaceX also has a habit of not releasing press materials up until like 24 hours of the proposed launch, which is super annoying when you're trying to do a lot of research, because I have to scour the web sometimes. There's a lot of outlets that have done a really good job of covering this, and I can only absorb so much information at once. DPI says there are more cost-efficient solutions, so I don't know. I really don't know. I wish I had the answer for you. I can't get that answer quickly, and that's part of the issue. Is sometimes I just can't get the answer quickly. Isn't that right, Tinkerbell? Have some Cheerios. So, any other questions? While you're typing in your questions, I am going to take this opportunity to remind you that this is a production of PSI, Planetary Science Institute in Tucson, Arizona, working in collaboration with Youngstown State University here in Youngstown, well, it's not raining at the moment, Ohio. PSI is a 501c3 nonprofit, which is fancy speak for your donations are tax deductible where laws allow, which really, let's be honest, is probably just the US. So I'm not seeing any other questions. I'm going to start rearranging some windows and things. Windows and things. So we're probably going to raid somebody in a bit, and I don't know who's active. I was checking for Rhyolite. But I have a feeling that if you're watching, then Rhyolite's not actually... Rhyolite's not actually streaming, huh? DPI says if you only talk about the moon and the lunar orbit... Oh, Rhyolite is hosting me. That's what I figured. Like, I can't raid Rhyolite if Rhyolite is hosting me. Go figure. Go figure. I tried. It was a thought. It's the thought that counts, right? Anyways, DPI said if you only talk about the moon and the lunar orbit, you can probably get away with using multiple OTS rubidium oscillators in one satellite. That's the cheap method. I'm going to hope that somebody understood that, because I admittedly went oscillators. Okay. AFSM might be streaming. What do they stream? DPI says, I think the reasoning for developing deep space atomic clock is that you need a more stable atomic clock like the one they're shooting into space. Yes. Q says, I have another idea for Bennu. You could start giving out all the images at once first in case this one mapping might find an interesting landing site, and then start to get all the confirming double checks. Yeah, I think Veronica did mean Adam. I have zero control over this. We essentially have 1 or 2 programmers, because I'm not even going to count myself because I don't have my development environment set up entirely, which I still need to do. We're just gonna have to keep powering through getting them done, and if that means that I stream myself marking craters, which I know this is a very tedious process. Oh, thank you for following SETI Outreach. I know this is a very tedious process, marking Bennu, but it's also very important. Alright, I'm not gonna run over a dog, am I? Nope. Alright, because we need more Cheerios. It's a very tedious process. I don't have my development. Yeah, I know who to talk to. And I don't know the reasoning behind why we have things set up the way we do, other than we want to make sure we get... Hold on. Because I just realized the Cheerios might actually be kind of loud. I don't know the reasoning behind why we did it the way we did. Other than we really do want to make sure 15 people see each image. And the way that to enforce that is that, you know, images are dumped in a queue, and DPI, yes, please post. Oh, I realized that Q wasn't talking to me. And DPI wasn't talking to me. I don't know the reasoning behind that, but, and I don't know how difficult that is to implement. Please remember we're a small team. We're going to start opening up everything to be open source, which means that anybody can contribute. I'm going to warn you now that it's, yes, 1,625 done. Yes, I'm going to warn you now that we're coding in PHP. Everything new is going to be in PHP for the website. Data, I think, is going to be in Python. Data manipulation is going to be in Python. And database stuff is in essentially MySQL. So yeah, it's, I appreciate the idea. It's just, I know that's something that might not be able to be implemented. And I don't want you to get disheartened when it's not implemented. It's just, we weren't expecting Bennu to be so rocky. Anyways, here's some Cheerios, because we got a new follow, and doggy tails are wagging, you just can't see it. And speak! Puck speak! Tinker speak! They have spoke all their spokes. And make it rain! And make it rain! There we go. So, throwing explosive bananas will be implemented in QBasic. Oh yes, oh yes, oh my. Throwing explosive bananas at Bennu, which I feel like we need to do, because if you haven't seen images of Bennu, it is rocks on rocks on rocks on boulders on rocks. And occasionally, if you're lucky, you'll see a crater or two. There aren't very many craters. And all the rocks are kind of jagged, and we were not expecting Bennu to look like this at all. We get really, we get really excited when we see a 10-meter boulder that doesn't have a whole lot of rocks on it. M says, the Japanese space program might be willing to try explosive bananas. They might, right? Crossbound says, I have yet to see a critter. I've only seen a few. Some of them are kind of obvious. Some of them just are really tricky. There's been a lot of T-shaped rocks, as Veronica points out. A lot of T-shaped rocks. And it's been kind of gross at the number of T-shaped rocks. Because then you're like, how am I supposed to mark this? And there's no erosion on Bennu. So that's why there's not round rocks, but T-shaped boulders and rocks has been kind of weird, and I don't know if it's from being impacted by other rocks and pieces just breaking off along stress points. I don't think the gem doctor is here to really give me any more geology info, and my geology is definitely lacking. Solar erosion, perhaps? Asked Falco. Is that a possibility? I don't know. Is solar erosion a thing? I don't know if solar erosion is a thing. I mean, we know solar can move things. We know solar winds can move things, but I don't know if solar wind can erode things. Yeah. There are indeed solar winds. I don't know if they can do any erosion. And I am not a planetary scientist. So, I don't know. We'll throw more Cheerios at the dogs and just make up for it in dog cuteness. Puck speak? Puck's like, nah. That's something to look into. I don't think that's something I'll look into today, but that is indeed something to look into. Puck. Yes, Puck. P-U-C-K. Some of Bennu's, Mike Cassidy says, some of Bennu's rocks look like they were squeezed out of a toothpaste tube. They do. Alara Sophia says, solar wind erosion is maybe more like the effect on icy comets, not steroids. Wow, bad auto mod. Yes, after Shakespeare's play. Correct, you got it. Congratulations. My other dog is named Tinkerbell, and I wanted to stick with the fairy theme, and my mom told me I had to make sure I had a dog's name that was pronounceable. So, yeah, we have Tinkerbell and Puck. And Puck is probably the awesomest dog name ever, I feel. No, Open Cage, you're talking solar sails. So electric sails to fly on solar winds. I thought that's what solar sails were doing, was flying on solar winds. Falco asks, and the cats are called Oberon and Titina? No, I have one cat and his name is Tuffy. He's actually not shown himself today. I have one cat named Tuffy. When I adopt animals and they came with a name, I don't change their names. That's just how I am. But I'll remember that if any more critters enter. Solar sail is photon momentum. Okay. See, there's a lot I don't know, and you guys do teach me a lot. This kind of is a two-way thing with us, because I am not an astronomer. I know enough astronomy to be dangerous. I'm starting to get a whole lot of knowledge on rockets simply from doing all of this and hosting rocket launches. But when it comes to a lot of different astronomy phenomenon, I'm like, I need an adult. And that adult usually is an astronomer. So hey, Puck. Puck! And see, you know what that means. And make it rain! Thank you for all the bits, Bombadil. And I'm looking at all the Cheerios that are stuck on the coats. Well, thank you. I'm glad that I can hold your interest. So, I am essentially going to give you guys one last opportunity to ask questions. Hi, Uncle Bill. And then I'm going to take a break. I don't know how long. At least 10 minutes. It might be an hour and 10 minutes. And we'll come back and we'll map more asteroids. I need to make sure that I have the time set right. It just struck me, Cheerios. I see what you did there. I didn't mean for it to be like that, but it's a happy coincidence. But yeah, at the top of the next hour, or the hour after that, I'll start streaming Bennu. I need to take a break. I need to get up and stretch and eat something. Stick with us, and we will make you into an astronomer. I don't know. But yeah, later this afternoon for me, I'm going to be streaming myself marking Bennu because we need to knock this out. And I figure if I'm doing it, that might motivate some of you into doing it. And things of that nature. So I'm going to take a break. And I'll be back later, and I'm going to post a bunch of stuff in Discord about the telecon, because I want to make sure I get the time for that right and make sure it lines up with everything. And thank you for doing 5 pictures of Bennu the other day. I know Dr. Pamela pulled up some stats, and she posted them in Discord, and 5,000 people have signed up. Most people have done between 1 and 10 images. One person has done something like 3,000 images, I think. Or was it 300? Anyways, one person did a whole lot of images, and we were like, whoa. So whoever that person is, you're freaking awesome. For everybody that is marking any number of images per day, you're freaking awesome. Keep it up. 5 images is a lot with how many marks there are, and I typically can't get past 3 or 4 before stopping. So just because I'm just so tired of looking at all the pictures of the rocks. And yeah, it can be very soothing and meditative and things of that nature. It's very tedious. And when you're talking to people and socializing while you're marking, it's different than just marking. And if you just want to chill and mark by yourself, some people have suggested listening to Astronomy Cast or Weekly Space Hangout or previous episodes of Daily Space, things of that nature. There's also 365 Days of Astronomy, so these are all CosmoQuest related one way or another projects. So those are other things. 3 images during the 2 mugs of morning coffee is a nice way to start the day. That's amazing. And it is productive, and it does help, and I appreciate all of the help, guys. So yeah, we'll get back at it together a little bit later this afternoon, but until then, I'm going to take a break and eat some lunch and maybe get some more coffee. I don't know if there's any more coffee. Maybe I'll brew more coffee. And yeah, so we're going to wrap it up. I think somebody said Adam was streaming. Shh. Oh my goodness. And of course, I had forgotten to log into the thing. So I think somebody said Adam was streaming, so we'll rate Adam. Wall of Text Time. We've already covered that this is a production of PSI working in collaboration with Youngstown State University. We archive everything on YouTube, so if you can't catch the video on demand, it's there on YouTube. We stream Sundays through Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern. Right now that's 1700 hours UTC. Sunday is myself. Hi, Annie. Colorizing space telescope data. And most of the week is Daily Space. Actually, all the rest of the week is Daily Space, where we bring you your, space and astronomy and launch news roundup, usually pretty quick. And, we are brought to you, most importantly, by you. We would literally not be here for all of your support, emotional, community, financial, and otherwise. All of your Patreon pledges, your bits, your subs, all of that, it actually goes to pay paychecks. So, thank you. Thank you for #FeedAnnie. Oh, thanks for the follow, Falco! So here's some bits, and make it rain! Yeah, no, thank you for making it possible for me to collect a paycheck doing this. You guys are amazing. If you can't afford to do any of the things that involve money, that's totally fine. I get it. Really, I do. Inflict us upon others. That's also a really good way to help, support us, is just inflict us upon others, inflict science upon others. And, help us do science. And other than that, I mean, hang out with us and chat. Chatting's cool. We have a Discord if you want to hang out with us on our Discord. And, yeah. In case you didn't know, Bennu. Yes, Bennu. Bennu is what the science that we're asking you to help us with. And I think that's everything. It's all the important stuff. If you're watching this on YouTube, you missed out on all the fun. So, with that, I am going to roll the credits. We're going to rate Adam, and we'll take a little break, and I'll see you guys later. So, bye-bye!